Angels are also keeping pace with them as well, with the Astros currently in first place. Obviously, again, early, it doesn't matter what the standings are current as much as it will in September and October. Other teams putting together some power lineups, the Phillies and the Mets, the Dodgers, the Braves. I'm sure there are other teams we could throw in there, all rival with the White Sox lineup, the Blue Jays, the Yankees, Red Sox. There are a lot of teams that can say they have strong lineups this year. With the Phillies and the Mets are actually in first place in the NL East right now. The Phillies are in last place because their offense can be pretty good, but they've also got some streaky hitters in there, and their pitching has been a bit of a struggle. They currently have a 5.02 ERA total pitching staff. That's not going to get it done against the offenses in that division, especially with the Braves and the Mets and the way they can hit. I think the NL Central is going to be a year-long battle. Don't expect the Cubs to be in it. Their roster isn't good enough right now. I would expect Milwaukee and St. Louis to be the two kind of spearheading this thing. Pittsburgh, they're keeping it close right now. I don't think they're good enough to keep it up all season. I think they'll fade eventually. And Cincinnati, from what I recall, when I looked at their roster, it was okay, but they're off to a 2-9 start. I've never been in love with their pitching, so that could be part of the reason they're struggling, but I expected better out of them. I didn't expect them to be the worst team in the division this time. Out in the NL West, Colorado's really hot right now. I don't expect that to continue because their roster isn't as deep as, say, the Dodgers or the Giants or even the Padres. The Giants came out of nowhere last year. I don't know, they're having a good year so far this year. I think they need to keep going and prove that their model was sustainable and not just a flash in the pan competing in the NL West last year. I think the Dodgers have the best roster in that division, possibly even in the National League and the MLB. The Braves will give them a fight for that as well, along with some other teams that we've mentioned already. San Diego is hoping for better under their new manager. Arizona is just going to look to stay afloat this year. They may have a bit of a weak offense. Usually David Peralta, Christian Walker, and Ketel Marte are good players, and they have been good players throughout their career. Peralta's struggling a little bit at the beginning of this year. Seth Beer, the rookie DH, off to a really hot start. Their pitching isn't great. They have, Madison Bumgarner's been an ace in the past, but he's kind of past that point in his career, has a couple bad years in a row, so there's no real ace in that pitching lineup. Also in the MLB, the Padres have become the first team to reach an agreement on a jersey ad deal. The new CBA allows teams to sell jersey ads with their sponsors, so starting next season, the San Diego Padres will be having a Motorola logo on their right sleeve of their jerseys. The Colorado Rockies have signed pitcher Kyle Freeland to a 5-year, $64.5 million contract extension. The deal includes a 6th-year player option for the 28-year-old left-hander, ties him to Colorado through the 2026 season, and gives him the most guaranteed money the Rockies have given in a deal since Mike Hampton, I believe it was 20 years or so ago. Freeland is currently 0-2, and his best season was back in 2018 when he finished 17-7 with a 2.85 ERA. For his career, he is 40-42 with a 4.28 ERA. Now, obviously, Coors Field in Colorado and that atmosphere will elevate that above what it would be in a normal park, but that's still a questionable ERA in the majors, and he's only their number 3 starter, and it's not like they're giving him a $100 million contract. But it is curious that they would extend a guy with a losing record and such a high ERA for 5 years at $60 million. The length is more what I'm concerned about, especially since his best year came 4 years ago, and he's not off to a good start this year. Another pitcher in the news, Jake Arrieta, has retired after 12 seasons in the majors. He began his career with a bit of a struggle in Baltimore with the Orioles, who was traded to the Cubs and became a dominant pitcher for Chicago. Won the Cy Young Award in 2015 with a 22-6 record and a 1.77 ERA. The next year, when the Cubs won the World Series, he went 18-8 with a 3.10 ERA, which not as good as the year before, obviously, but still very, very good all-star level type of player. During that World Series against the Indians, he was 2-0, and he's also finished his career with 2 no-hitters. Played for the Phillies and the Padres as well, but will mostly be remembered for his days with the Cubs. He finishes his career with respectable numbers of 115-93 record and a 3.98 ERA. To college basketball, more college basketball players have decided to enter the transfer portal in the NBA draft, so we're going to go with some notable guys leaving for the draft. Drew Timme, the big man from Gonzaga. Jabari Smith, the big man for Auburn, projected to be possibly the number 1 overall pick. Ty Washington, a forward for Kentucky. Guard J.D. Notae for Arkansas. Guard J.D. Davidson for Alabama. Wing Benedict Mathurin for Arizona, projected lottery pick there. And center Mark Williams from Duke, potential first-round pick there for Williams. Guys entering the transfer portal: Ohio State guard Michie Johnson, UConn guard Corey Floyd, Boston College point guard Brevin Galloway, Oklahoma's Elijah Harkless, Michigan State big man Julius Marble, Texas guard and former 4-star recruit Devin Askew, Iowa State guard Tyrese Hunter, key player at I believe he's a wing for BYU, Gideon George, who's been there a couple of years, Antoine Davis from Detroit, the point guard. He was the son of Detroit head coach Mike Davis and was the 3rd leading scorer over the past couple of years in Division I basketball. Also, Memphis, Tyler Harris is leaving, and former number 1 recruit in the 2022 class who reclassified to join Memphis and was seen as a basketball prodigy, Amani Bates, is also entering the transfer portal. The XFL will be returning in 2023 under new leadership that includes The Rock. The league will have 8 teams and has announced its coaches for the reboot season. Should be familiar names here: Hines Ward, the former Steelers wide receiver, Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion. He's been regarded as a rising star in the coaching and executive ranks for a while. Bob Stoops, the former Oklahoma head coach, also coached the Dallas Renegades during the last version of the XFL before COVID. Wade Phillips, accomplished defensive coordinator in the NFL, son of one of the top coaches in NFL history in Bum Phillips. He has been defensive coordinator a lot of places. He's been the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans. Jim Haslett, also been an NFL head coach and also a head coach in the now defunct UFL for the Florida Tuskers back in the mid-2000s. Rod Woodson, the former safety, works with a lot of today's current NFL DBs on their training and everything. I know he worked with Darius Slay in the past and helped him get better when he was in Detroit. Reggie Barlow, a former player in the league and also a former college coach for Alabama State and Virginia State. Terrell Buckley, a former defensive back in the league as well, who had been working with the corners at Ole Miss. And Anthony Becht, a former tight end in the NFL. The league has not announced who will take over which team, but the Wikipedia pages for Barlow and Buckley list their teams, with Barlow taking over Houston and Buckley taking over Orlando. Similarly, we have another Classic League rebooting with the USFL. It started on Saturday. All games, again, will be played in Birmingham, Alabama in a 10-game season with a 4-team playoff starting on June 25th. There are 8 teams in the league. The championship game will be on July 3rd. The games can be seen on Fox, NBC, and FS1. The Birmingham Stallions defeated the New Jersey Generals in a close game that came down to the wire on Saturday. The Houston Gamblers beat an awful-looking Michigan Panthers squad 17-12 on Sunday. New Orleans Breakers beat the Philadelphia Stars, and the Tampa Bay Bandits held the Pittsburgh Maulers to just 3 points. Also, in related news, the broadcast team for Sunday Night Football has been announced. Melissa Stark is taking over as the sideline reporter for Michelle Tafoya. Chris Collinsworth will return, and Mike Tirico takes over for Al Michaels. That's the NBC crew for Sunday Night Football. The Washington Commanders have found themselves in more hot water. This time, a 20-page letter has come out with details over the years of altering financial records to hide revenue. They also allegedly failed to refund security deposits and kept 2 sets of financial books. One senator even described the document as some organization out of The Godfather, not the NFL, and it further notes the reports of dysfunction within the franchise. The team reportedly shared the altar books with the NFL in cooperation with the ticket revenue sharing aspect, but hid their accurate ticket sale numbers and other numbers in a separate book that didn't share with anybody. There's a lot more detail in an article from John Keim on ESPN.com, but that's really what the gist is. Panthers linebacker Damian Wilson has been arrested for assault after allegedly threatening to kill his ex-girlfriend. Wilson was just signed by Carolina a month ago. The team has said they are aware of the arrest, but made no further comment on the situation. In better NFL news, the Las Vegas Raiders have signed quarterback Derek Carr to a contract extension. He's been perhaps the biggest part of the Las Vegas offense during his career and gets rewarded yet again. The deal is for 3 years and $121.5 million with a no-trade clause, and it runs through 2025. It's the second extension that the 31-year-old quarterback has signed. Previously signed one for $125 million over 5 years, and he is coming off a playoff appearance and a career high in passing yards. Also, teams have begun to arrive for offseason programming. The Browns are one of those teams, and Baker Mayfield was a no-show. Obviously, they made the trade for Deshaun Watson, so Baker's future is kind of in limbo. And right now, it's a voluntary program, so Mayfield's absence wasn't unexpected, but the note here is he's officially not showing up, and I can't blame him for that. They really need to find a new home for him soon. I'm going to jump right back to the NBA real quick because I accidentally skipped over this a minute ago. The finalists for the NBA awards have been announced. There are 3 finalists in most categories. NBA Coach of the Year, Taylor Jenkins of the Memphis Grizzlies, Eric Spoelstra of the Miami Heat, and Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns. Defensive Player of the Year was won by Marcus Smart of the Boston Celtics, first guard to win that in a long time. The other candidates were Rudy Gobert and Mikal Bridges. Most Improved Player, you have Darius Garland of the Cleveland Cavaliers, John Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies, and DeJounte Murray of the San Antonio Spurs. MVP, Nikola Jokic for Denver, Joel Embiid of the Sixers, and Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Bucks. Rookie of the Year, Scottie Barnes from Toronto, Cade Cunningham from Detroit, and Evan Mobley from the Cavaliers. I will say that this isn't Detroit fan bias or anything. I actually take it however you want. I don't give a shit. I think Cade Cunningham was the best rookie and has the best NBA future. It's unfortunate because there weren't a lot of Detroit games on TV, and Detroit was overall as a team so bad you didn't really want to watch them. And the Raptors and the Cavs, Raptors are in the playoffs. Cavs made a push for the playoffs but lost the play-ins, and a lot more people were seeing and hearing about Scottie Barnes and Evan Mobley than Cade Cunningham. So it's kind of becoming a team success award, which is it's something that a player award shouldn't have to fight against because it's about the best player in their first year in the league. You could say, well, the MVP takes into account the team record and everything, and my response to that would be, yeah, it kind of does, but also the guys that are up for that award are usually the best players on the better teams in the NBA. Sixth Man of the Year, you have Tyler Hero of the Miami Heat, Cam Johnson of the Phoenix Suns, and Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Lastly, the NHL playoffs are just a couple weeks away. I think teams got 6-7 games left, so let's take a look at the standings. In the East, like I've been saying for a couple weeks, the teams are set. It's the order that might change. Florida, a second best record in the NHL right now. They are not going to lose their top spot there. The other Atlantic teams are the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Lightning have Boston right on their heels in terms of points, only 3 points behind Tampa with 7 games left, so that's a total of 14 points that could be gained by Boston that could push Tampa into a wild card spot. The Metropolitan Carolina Hurricanes, the New York Rangers, and the Pittsburgh Penguins will be in, and the Washington Capitals have the wild card right now, but they're only a point behind Pittsburgh with 6 games left, so 12 possible points to make up there for Washington. In the West, Colorado has clinched the top seed. They have the best record in the NHL right now over Florida by 2 points with 6 games left, fighting off Florida for what the NHL calls the President's Trophy, which is the award for most points in the regular season for a team. doesn't necessarily turn into Stanley Cup and playoff success. The Central, obviously you have Colorado, you have St. Louis, and you have Minnesota. In the Pacific, you have Calgary, Edmonton, and the Los Angeles Kings. The wild card, you have two Central teams tied at 91 points each with Dallas and Nashville. The three Central Division teams that are in the playoffs as normal seeds and not wild cards, Colorado, St. Louis, Minnesota, have all clinched their spots. In the Pacific,